So when you open up this activity, it's going to open up here in the Teacher Desmos account. So if you want to see what it looks like for students, you can click this student preview. And you can see it starts with a card sort. The way that you work these, if you need it bigger like I do, because of my older eyes, you click it and it gets bigger. So we see this is X is greater than 2. So I see that's this card over here. So you just click this card, drag it until it turns blue. That connects those two cards. Now we're going to have them write a real world situation that this inequality could represent and share it with the class. They will see other students' responses, 3 other students' responses. So, just because we thought that would be good, but I'll show you how you can change that if you don't want to see that. Okay, now here, consider the inequality. X plus 3 is greater than 5. Name one value that would make this true. Notice we tell them that they're going to see 3 other classmates' responses because those will populate here, and we ask them to pick one. So if they see a 10 down here, then we don't want them to pick a 10. So let's say I pick 4, share with class. They're going to be prompted to explain, and you might want to literally, I would suggest maybe if your students haven't really gotten comfortable with writing, that you actually restrict the screens. I'll show you how to do that as well in case you don't remember, because you may want to stop and have some discussions so that they don't just go all the way through this and then and then they're totally off base. So I would definitely consider doing that. So they're going to explain their thinking, so you would hope they would put something like 4 plus 3 is 7 and 7 is greater than 5. Share with class, and then they'll see 3 other students' responses. Now here they've got an inequality. We're asking them to subtract 3 from both sides and solve for x, and to write the resulting inequality. So x would be greater than 2. Again, and I know they may say things like, well, it's easy, but encourage them to actually think about how they would explain this. Something you might say is like, okay, if you were explaining this to a 6-year-old, what would you tell them that you did? And so just really encourage them on this writing out on their thinking. Same one here. Use your own words to describe how you would find the values of x. Okay, now we're getting into why we flip the sign when it's multiplied by a negative. So we've got this inequality, x is less than 8. We're asking them to pick a value for x that's in this interval that would make the inequality true. Write your number in the box below. Again, they'll see 3 classmates' responses. Tell them to pick one that nobody does. So let's say I pick 3. I share with class. Now this activity is programmed to pull their number. You entered 3. Now substitute that into the following inequality. 2 times your number is less than 2 times 8. Show your work. We gave them an example here just so they could see. For example, if you chose x equals 1 and 8/10, you would enter it 2 times 1.8 is less than 2 times 8. So again, they're going to explain their thinking and tell whether it's true or false. And if it's true, explain your reasoning. And if it's false, what could you do to make it true? So since I did 3, I would say 2 times 3 is less than 2 times 8. Share with class. They explain their thinking. 6 is less than 16. Share with class. Now notice we've got it programmed. Your value is plotted in blue. There's the 2 times the 3. Consider the inequality in green up here. Compare the graph to the inequality, and what does it prove? Well, what we're wanting them to do is visually see, and again, you may need to restrict these screens, but to visually see that 2 times 3 here is to the left of 2 times 8. So yes, it is indeed less than that. So that 2 times 3 is less than 2 times 8. Okay? Now we've got our negative number. Okay? So that we're multiplying, look, by a -2 here. See here, by -2, by -2. Okay? So we give them the sample. So now they're doing -2 times 3 is less than -2 times 8. Okay, now remember they're supposed to tell if it's true or false. Now we're hoping that they'll say, wait, it's false. -6 is not less than -16. Okay? What could you do the inequality to make it true? You could reverse the sign. Now on the next screen, it's going to plot their numbers. And now look at the inequality up here in green. And so now we see -2 times 3 is to the right of -2 times 8. So does this graph prove the inequality? No. It shows that it is false, because we know sometimes students have trouble seeing that a -6 is actually greater than -16. Okay, so we let them summarize what happens when you multiply both sides by a positive number and then by a negative number. Okay, now this screen, this screen is just so they can practice for the screens coming up. So please restrict this screen and make sure they're practicing correctly. Oops. Okay, pause. I added this screen in and I didn't put a place for them to type, so let me fix this. Sorry guys, I'm fixing something real quick. Notice how I'm editing the activity. So I'm going to go in and edit the activity, and I am editing this screen. I need an input box for them to put the answer. Sorry about that. I didn't want to start this whole thing over again just because of that. Okay, so I'm going back to the student preview, and real quickly we'll go through to that screen. Okay, now here they go, except I didn't put the prompting for them to explain. So, but consider the inequality x plus 3 is less than 5. Think about what you would do first to solve this inequality, perform that operation, and write the resulting inequality in the box below. Oh, I need to fix it. I'm sorry, guys. So sorry. I really don't want to have to start all this over. I forgot to give them the explain your thinking box. But at least you get to see some quick edits of how we can edit this. So coming back to screen 13. Okay, so here I'm going to make this be math instead of text. And anytime you put math, it lets you ask students to explain their answer. Okay, now we should be good to go. So once again, we'll do the student preview. Let's go back to that screen. Okay, it was this one right here. There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, so this one I definitely, when you get here, this is for them to practice just what they're going to do in the next few screens. So I would work this one together with them. I would say, okay, guys, what would we do? We would subtract 3. What would that give me? That would give me x is less than 2. That's what they're entering here. And then there's the explain one that I just answered. So you have them again, just tell them, explain it like you're explaining it to a 6-year-old, just go in depth. So now you see why I put that screen there, because then I want them to do on their own. So consider the equation 2x plus 5 is less than 10. It will take us multiple steps to solve this inequality. Think about what you would do first to solve the inequality. Perform that operation and write the resulting inequality in the box below. So most of them are going to subtract 5, right? And so they're actually writing this, 2x is less than 5. This is why I put that other screen, just so you can practice and make sure, because we want them to write an inequality here, because notice we submit it to our teacher, and then just for the sake of time, I'm just going to write explain there. So we submit to teacher. Notice it when I go to the next screen, it pulls that inequality that they wrote. So we wrote 2x is less than 5. If I did something wrong and wrote 2x is less than 10, submit to teacher. See, it pulls whatever they wrote. So that's why it's important for them to make sure that they are entering the inequality. Okay, so submit to teacher, submit to teacher. Now we've got the good one. Think about what operation you would do next and solve the inequality. Perform that operation and write the resulting inequality in the box below. So they would divide both sides by 5. So x is less than, divide both sides by 2. 5 halves. Submit to teacher, and they're going to explain here. And that was the end of that one because they got to the solution. Here they're given one where they're going to write out the steps of what people did. Here we're given an error analysis. Divided both sides by -4. Didn't reverse the sign. Here they get another one to work like earlier. So they would add 6 to both sides. So we would get -3x is greater than 12. Submit to teacher, and they're going to explain. And then see, again, it pulled the inequality. And then finally in the end, one more error analysis. So that is the student preview. So if you want to use it exactly like it is, then all you have to do is create your class code. And then when you're ready to do it in class, you click View Dashboard. And this comes up for your students to see. So I did share with the group on Tuesday that you really may want to make sure that they are logging in with Google. In this activity, if you decide to split it over 2 days, if they log in with a Google account, then it will actually pick them back up where they left off. I know you guys in Richland can't use Google, so if you don't do it in a full day, you have a couple of options. Let me tell you what those are. So first of all, you could actually just have them do the log back in. It would just list their name twice, and so you would just have to see, okay, well, here's Amy's first half. Let me go down and find the second half, and so that would be what it would do. Another idea is to, and by the way, if you go out of Desmos and you come back in and you're like, where is my activity? Click Custom, and there's your activity, solving inequalities. So another option is you could just split it up and make a part 1, part 2. So if you wanted to do that, you would just come here, you would do the copy and edit, and you would need to do that twice because you're going to want to change 2 versions. So I could do copy and edit, and I could come up here and say, you know what, this is going to be solving inequalities part 1, and I want to do everything up through, I think if you are going to break it, a good breaking point would be after the, going through, you reverse the sign. So you want to delete everything else. So you just come right over here and just click delete. 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 Okay, and then you can go back. So I'm not going to save this. So then you can go back and go to the, remember, go to custom and go back to the original equation, the big long one, copy and edit, name it part 2, and delete the screens in the beginning. I did tell you, let's see, I would show you how to restrict screens. So when we're viewing the dashboard, this is actually some of your work from the other day. And so when we're viewing the dashboard, don't forget this little guy's the anonymize. So pacing, you just click the pacing button, and like maybe I want them to do the, honestly, when I do this with classes, especially if it's classes where they're, struggling students, I like to restrict them quite frequently and have that intervention in between. So notice the different views. We're up here on summary view. If I want to do teacher view, I can see everyone's work. This is the card sorts. If it's green, they matched it correctly. If it's red, they matched it incorrectly. I had the answer key wrong the other day, but I fixed it, so that's why we had some reds in there. So that's the pacing. If you want to stop, you just click stop. That's the teacher view, and if you want to see the student view, this tells you what the students looks like in that one. So if you ever want to just stop the students, hit pause, and it just puts the big pause button on there, and they cannot move forward. So to just keep them from messing around on the screen, you may want to hit pause anytime you want to pull their attention up to the front of the room. Okay, I really hope that's helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions about the activity. One last thing to show you. One last thing. There is a, so if I'm here, notice this teacher guide. This is really, really cool. So here, it's for this particular activity. And so it just kind of tells you what to do to plan, what your learning targets are, and then it makes you like really sit down and kind of think through the different screens. And then you can make notes. Like here, you're thinking, which screens would I have everyone work at on the same time? Which screens do you want to keep students from seeing until you're ready for the class to see? I would love for you guys to print this out, and as you're doing the activity, or even when you finish, if you could just go back and make some quick notes and just reflect on it. Let me know like what screens worked well, what screens needed some work, did the students struggle with, and just any insight and reflections you have. I would really, really love to see that. Okay, I think that is all that I have, and thanks so much for taking time to watch that.